What?
Uh,
Oh, fucking shit. Okay. Hello
Sorry.
and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Friday, September 17th. In this episode, we cover the Champions League. Cristiano scores, but Ole is going to Ole. City give up a hat trick and still win by 3. Chelsea bore us and win. Liverpool play and dominate. But first, Mike, Spurs draw against Rennes in the conference, and you have Chelsea on Sunday. How's your face padding feeling?
Not good. No. This is not in the face ish for Spurs. Now look, a lot of it is going to hinge completely on the health of Hyunmin Son. If he comes back, I feel perfectly fine about upsetting Chelsea and taking 3 points at home. I really do. Which is the delusion I live under perpetually as a Spurs supporter. But really, I mean, he kills you more than anybody, any other team. So he can be the one-man band.
Yeah, he's a counter-attacking player.
And that's what we're going to see. Chelsea's going to have 60, 70, maybe 80% of possession.
But that's not how they play, really. haven't seen that. Might be
it's how Nuno plays. He doesn't want the ball. He's just a friendly Mourinho at this point, and
but
it's going to be
have a midfield to hold the ball. So
it's funny you say that because Tanguy Ndombele was let out of prison today, not literally. I feel like I needed to say that.
Don't be making fun of Benjamin Mendy like that because he's on 4 counts. He's on 4 counts of rape and has literally been disappeared from City. Like
he has
everything.
No, Tanguy is just pouting, but even he was arguably at fault for a goal today where he was just lazy in defending, and that's his shtick, right? Like, and by the way, before somebody's like, "You're just racist," Christian Eriksen did that shit too. He just he sucked in his own third. He's just terrible. It's laziness. Because that's the thing. Is like he maybe he's not the smartest footballer on the pitch. I won't say that necessarily. In fact, I think Kane probably is. But Tanguy Ndombele, I've said on the show many times before, is by far the most talented football player that Spurs have. And when you have that player listless, like he doesn't have, like, what do we call it at the time, the Englishness, right? Like if you had Højbjerg in that spot, he's going to take a foul, maybe a yellow card, to make sure that he doesn't get that pass off that ends up resulting in a goal. Now, is that a free kick that could lead to a goal too? You bet your ass. But at the same time, it's hindsight being a little 20/20, but anyway, I believe he will start on Sunday because we saw what happens when you really don't have anybody in that position last week against Crystal Palace, which is not Chelsea. So yeah, I am not hopeful. I'm not excited. I am going to be driving somewhere between North Carolina and Washington, D.C. during the match.
Yes,
so
Mike,
that's going to be an
well, let's stay where you are. You are in the real home stretch of getting married.
Yes,
doing
yes.
all the
My
stuff.
lovely fiance, Jessica, it was 3 years to the day on Tuesday, I think, since we got engaged, and she made a questionable life decision.
It's definitely questionable. I'm questioning this podcast, and I'm not getting married, but I'm like, maybe this podcast is as far as I get. But you are the one person I've talked to throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, but we're getting married on October 1st in New York. So my availability on the show might be a little cloudy the next few weeks, but
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Figure it out.
We're going to do a pod in the middle of it.
We're going to do a pod from the hotel room.
We're going to do a pod. No, we're going to do it at the table. We're just going to pod at the table, and we'll somehow get it into the show. It'll be amazing. I'll do a pod with Michael Lewis and people, and we'll just do it that way. It'll be fantastic and amazing.
2 weeks from now, it'll be a Premier League weekend and wedding preview pod. So that'll be a fun one. We'll do it live from the Hyatt in Riverhead.
So we like to cover Spurs, and we talked about laziness, and that leads me to Manchester United drawing. No, wait, they didn't even draw. They lost.
No, they lost.
Young Boys of Bern. One of the stranger team names. It sounds better in Spanish, Juventus, Young Boys. But Young Boys from Switzerland, crazy crowd. United go up early. Cristiano Ronaldo on the score sheet again. You're thinking they've got this. Everything's moving along. It is an AstroTurf field, which in England they call the plastic pitch. It's a little harsh. I don't think it's quite plastic.
No, yeah.
I don't know.
Why would they make fun of Manchester City fans like that? That's so strange.
Hey, that was my hot take that I was going to talk about. Like, there's nothing going on, so anytime there's any empty seats when City plays, it's empty.
Well, wait a minute. Let's come back to United because I do want to have. I have a couple of young boys jokes that I prepared for the group. But
so Wan-Bissaka gets sent off on a legit. He stomped the guy's ankle. That was pretty bad.
Yeah,
and United proceed to play like they're Southampton and go to 5 at the back. 60 minutes, take off Fernandes and Cristiano. They have no attack. They have no way to play. All they do is just go to 5 at the back. They bring in Lindelof, Maguire, Fred. They're all defense. Pulls off Van der Beek at halftime. This guy can't get a break. He must have fucked Ole's girlfriend somewhere along the line.
Ole's girlfriend is a young boy.
Yes, Ole's girlfriend is a young boy. But they just crapped the bed, and Lingard makes an error to give up the goal. Had it been a draw, it would have been bad. Had they sawn it out, it would have been like, oh my God, narrative. What a great tactical masterclass. But the fact that they lost gives you the Ole out. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Well, let's not be reactive. Let's go back into the reactive.
He's not
stop
good.
it. Stop it. I'm not arguing that. Well, I'm not arguing that. And you know that I agree with you on this. But let's talk about this specific game. They were down a man for 65 minutes. 60, 65? It doesn't matter. I hear you. This isn't there. And there's plenty of evidence that supports your arguments with Ole being a terrible coach and he should not be coach Man United and Ole out and all that stuff. I don't think this is it necessarily. You're in, like you said, you're in a hostile environment, out of the country.
Can't lose that game. Can't.
You can't lose this game if you're playing 11 on 11 for the entire time. I agree with that. But if you're playing 10 against 11 for literally 2/3 of the match, it's a bad loss. Don't get me wrong. It's a bad loss.
Of Manchester United.
No, I understand.
They should not be able to have to be the team that soaks up pressure like they're fucking Burnley playing against United.
But that's
exactly how they played.
That's how they played after the red card. That's how they played after the 35th minute.
Yes, I understand. Oh, even they win the game easily. But the fact that
that's what I'm saying.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is the good teams like United, like Liverpool, like City, like PSG, they would have gone and attacked this team even with 10. Instead of playing scared like they can't handle, like they tried to sit on a 1-goal lead. It's just mentality. It's just, why did you make those decisions? Like, just what are you doing, dude? Or the other piece is just like, did you practice? Do you know how to play? Like, do they know how to do things? I don't think that they do.
So the other argument in your favor, I think, is if you look at the group, you go, okay, you've got Atalanta and Villarreal.
I'm telling you, United are going to fuck this up. Again.
Fine. But what I'm saying is these are, by the way, if you were playing Atalanta down a man, you lose 6-1.
They would have gotten blown out.
Yeah, got blown out. These are groups that you should advance from. I'm not even saying win at this point. You should be in the top 2. And I'm not saying
have a real coach that actually beat them in a final.
That's true. Was that that was Unai Emery?
Yep.
Yeah. So look, what I'm saying is that on paper, Manchester United should be able to get through this group. This is a bad loss because arguably Young Boys are the fourth best team in the group.
By far the worst team in the group.
Right?
By far.
So,
by far.
So you kind of, what you do is you basically take 3 points away.
Yeah.
Not 3 points. Let me be clear. 3 points, right?
Yes,
because when you look at the group, all 3 of those teams go, all right, it's going to be a battle for the 3 of us. One of us is going to the Europa League, but we're all going to get 6 points from Young Boys. And so now you don't. Right. And that was, I think, the thing is that once he went down a man and the game wore on, and especially after they tied it, he went, oh, we can't lose this game. So he tried like hell to hang on to that 1 point. I don't, from a coaching perspective, from a strategic perspective, I actually agree with that. Now it didn't work out. I understand, but I'm looking at the strategy call, not the result.
2 shots.
Yeah, but if you already scored on one of them, you can. We talked about Sonny, right? Like, how many times did we beat you with 2 shots and 2 goals, right? 2 goals.
Yeah, but that's embarrassing. You're
I'm
not
not
Man
saying
United. You're
I'm
Spurs.
not
That's
saying it's
okay.
not, but sometimes you got to win ugly or draw ugly. And this is again, I'm talking about the strategy, not the result. I don't think that Ole is as at fault here as he has been in other times in the last 12 months, let's say. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything you're saying globally is wrong.
The guy took off Sancho in 37 minutes. He's the most counterattacking player you have. You could have sit
Not
pressure up
Ronaldo.
and been the outlet.
We just
ball.
talked about how Ronaldo doesn't. We talk about all the time how Ronaldo doesn't defend. Why wouldn't he be the most counterattacking?
I don't like.
I get it.
United are gonna lose because of Ole, not because of the talent. Like, here's the thing. I posted this. Would United be favorites for the Premier League if Klopp was their coach? Yes. Would they be favorites to win the league if Pep was their coach? Yes.
No, because he'd fuck it up.
No, he wouldn't. Would they be favorites to win the league if they had Tuchel as their coach? Yes. Are they with Ole? No. That's
okay, so
like,
I'm looking at the lineup.
Terrible.
I agree with you. I would not have taken Jadon Sancho off. I would have taken Van de Beek off then. And that's not a slight on him, but you're down a man. This is what happens here. Right?
Or you go, we're Manchester fucking United. We lost our right back who doesn't do shit anyway on offense. We're going to go kick these clowns' ass. Their whole team costs less than our fucking water bill.
Again, I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is that I think the tactical mistake was Sancho instead of Van de Beek. But, I mean, is that the thing, right? Like, they lost the game in the 75th minute. Both players would have been off by then anyway. But you would have had more of an attacking front foot. I think you would have – I would have retreated at some point, maybe not right away. And, again, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking here. I get that. But, like, I probably would have pushed on through halftime, kind of reassessed everything, and then slowly bled back.
Think about this. What did Chelsea do? Down a man at Anfield. They had a plan. They were like, we're going to fight. United didn't fight. They were fucking scared. It was
You're
pathetic.
Right. You're right. That's a great chat.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you doing, dude? It doesn't have they have cohesion in attack and they're completely disconnected when they have to defend. It's laughable. You know what? I shouldn't care, but I just was like, it's my take, and I'm like, one of these moments, I'm like, this is awful. They're so bad. In our other Premier League friends, we talk about being cohesive and a unit and defending. Chelsea just fucking choke slam. Did I say it was Shakhtar or the other one? They choke out the first.
Zenit. It was Zenit.
Zenit. They choke out the first half of the game, get their goal, and they just see it out. It's one of the most boring halves of football you'll ever see. But Chelsea now have this system of defending with the ball in their own half. I don't know how they do it, but it's weird. They don't attack. They have the ball. You can't get it from them, but they stay in their half and don't create any chances. Mm-hmm. Very weird. It's all that Jorginho Kovacic back and forth shit. I'm
really not looking forward to watching it on Sunday.
No. Mendy was good as usual. I mean, he's been, we had a little shout out for him last season, but I was listening to the podcast World today. That dude is good.
Yeah.
He's a real fucking really, really good keeper. And he saved their ass against Villa, and he was good in this game as well.
Here's the thing about Mendy is that he's really good and he's enormous, right? So
yes,
if you rarely get players who are both, right? Yeah. Usually it's like, oh, this guy's huge and he's not really the best positionally, but his literal physical ability bails him out sometimes because he's just got another 4 inches on somebody. We can make a bunch of 4-inch jokes about young boys. It's not important. But no, he's phenomenal. He's got like all of like Lloris's positioning and reflexes. But like who's I want to say like Tim
gigantic
Ederson or like Tim Krul, like Spider-Man-esque. So
and he's not, he looks shaky with the ball at his feet, but they don't ask him to play that much.
They're smart about that.
And he gets it done. He does well and hangs in there. The other game, the Chelsea game's not as interesting. The City game was interesting in that
9 goals.
City gave up a hat trick. They were up 2-0 after 28 minutes on a weird own goal. They let a kid named Christopher Nkunku, not Nfufu, score to bring them back in. Then Mahrez scored on a penalty. Then Nkunku again. Jack Grealish. Then there was a monstrosity of changes. Nkunku scored again to make it 4-3. Cancelo scored a worldie, and then Gabriel Jesus got a tap in at the end for 6-3. So it was a 6-3 game where Pep was hammering the players the whole game. Like, the narrative of this game is like, yes, City were playing. De Bruyne came back. Foden got minutes. Like, they've been winning and scoring 16 goals in their last 3 home games without a striker, which is just not right. So off the bench comes Sterling, Foden, Gundogan, and Jesus. That's a pretty good group. Along with Fernandinho, because he fucking hooked Rodri, because he was like, if you fucking let another person run past you in the midfield, I'm going to kick you in the dick. Like, this is a game they're up and scoring goals, and he's still yanking Rodri. Maybe he'll learn that Rodri's not good. He turns like a Cadillac. He moves like a battleship from 1948. It's the Battle of Guadalcanal all the time, and we're the Japanese and getting bombed to pieces with torpedo planes. Now, I made a Pacific joke, which is different.
That's diversifying our World War II references.
Well, so I'm not a fan of Rodri. Yes, he's good. It's in the context of City that he's not good. Everything is always in the context of City.
I'd fucking take him instead of Harry Winks.
Like, exactly. Like, I think one of the things that's happened to him is, from Spain, there's just this general lack of athleticism within the league itself. And he looks athletic compared to the rest of the Spanish players.
But when you import all their athleticism.
Yeah, they're like, well, we're all technical. I'm like, yeah, that guy just ran past you and somebody elbowed you and you fell down. So it's not going to work. There were some other funky games that I'd want to point out.
Well, let's talk about Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about them, because wacky game, back and forth.
It wasn't really back and forth, to be honest. But
it
was crazy.
But like, and the thing for me, and we talked about it before we started recording, is that AC Milan is not a pushover. They're not a Zenit, right? That's not knocking Chelsea necessarily.
It's a name brand team.
They're a name brand team, and they're in a name brand group. And so we talked about how United sort of gave away points that everybody else is looking at, like, oh shit, everybody else is going to pick those points up. They won points today that are not going to be necessarily easy to come by, right? Like, they're in a group with, what is it? Atletico Madrid and Porto, right? Mm-hmm. Is that who? Let me double check.
Like yeah. 6 champions or 7. There's a lot of champions in that group.
There's a lot of champions in that group, and anybody can beat anybody on any day. So to pick up 3 points, especially having Madrid and Porto draw, that's significant, right? Like, it's
the thing is, for Liverpool, is they are the best team in this group by a lot.
Well, yeah.
And I think the thing that's interesting about this game was the first half an hour, Liverpool were that breathless, destroy all comers. You're at Anfield. It's real. The European nights at Anfield thing is real. I think people in Liverpool don't have jobs. They live for this shit. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know how much they charge. I don't know how Liverpool do this or how they're able to sustain this intensity. It sounds like it's a town that really has nothing except Liverpool. That's probably what it's like. And they came out and tried to blow the doors off of AC Milan, and mostly did. They just didn't get the goals. They got 1 goal from Trent Alexander-Arnold. Really nice run on inside. There's a nice relationship happening with Salah and TAA, where Salah's actually working back for Trent Alexander-Arnold, because if you notice, whenever something good happens for another team, it's always on Alexander-Arnold's side. And the 2 goals that come late on the first 2 shots and the first 2 attacks.
Late in the first half, right? Like, Milan went into the break winning this game.
Up 2-1. But they were the first 2 attacks they even took. Former City player Brahim Diaz scored 1, and they took their goals really well, but it was no Van Dijk. So Gomez and Matip were there, and TAA was high up, didn't sprint back as fast as he could. It's on his side. And as usual, Trent Alexander-Arnold is great, but he's never going to play for England if every goal that happens to his team is on his side.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about Kyle Walker being basically the cheat code to stop all counterattacks ever.
So here's something.
Yeah.
You mentioned no Van Dijk, and I want to explore that a little more. Do we think that Klopp is still kind of easing him into things and he's not ready for 2 games a week?
No, maybe, but I do think that he's learned his lesson. He can't run that same 11 out every game.
No. And I wouldn't suggest that. But Wouldn't you think that Milan in the first match of Champions League get off to a good start, get 3 points, and get the hell out of there? Now they did,
They were at
but
home. I think he felt like they're at home. I've got my guys. I still have Gomez. I still have Matip.
yeah,
I
okay,
have my, if not my Cadillac of a starter, my best grouping, right? Without him,
yeah,
that's their
yeah.
best group without him. They were able to play Keita. They were able to get Henderson minutes, who scored a worldie to win the
He got the
game,
winner. Yeah,
frankly. And they were good. They're still there. I think the best version of Liverpool in a one-off game at Anfield is still the best team in the Premier League. The problem is they don't have the depth on all fronts the way Chelsea and City do, right? Like I think the
I think that's fair.
the ceiling for Liverpool is always the highest, I think.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
I think City is always going to have the problem of creating lots of chances and missing them. When they score their chances, they are unstoppable.
They
They
put
score 3 or
6
4.
past Leipzig,
Right,
right? That's
exactly.
exactly what happens.
With Chelsea, I think that they always have to play at a high level, and when they dip a little bit, they don't score.
Mm-hmm.
They'll always defend well, but at home, no team in Europe is as good as the best version of Liverpool.
No,
And
I agree with
I
that.
hate to say it, but when they lose one guy, though, the whole thing breaks because they don't have enough.
I'd say the whole thing wobbles, and then it's
Yeah.
slow. And
Like
yeah, we'll see.
if they lost Salah, they wouldn't be able to win. If they lost
I think
Allison,
Salah.
they wouldn't be able to win.
I think
Even though they
Salah
did
is a
okay.
little bit more replaceable just because
With
you're
who?
gonna fill him in with Mane. I'm sorry, with Jota, but Mane will be on the other side still, right?
Yeah, but they
That's the
still
thing.
have, but it's Firmino in the middle. Like
But no,
everything
one,
change, the
yeah,
whole thing breaks down, right?
right. And that's the thing is that why I brought up, I think on the last show or maybe before that about AFCON, like if they don't lose those 2 guys, I want to go back and I want to change my predictions for the preseason because going into the season, I'm like, well, Liverpool's not going to have Mane and Salah for what 4-6 weeks, so that's huge. So
And
I don't know. We'll see.
I do think you're right though. There may be a learning figure there of Klopp maybe trying to take care of Van Dijk. Like Van
Yeah,
Dijk,
it just
those
feels
first
like
2
a big
seasons,
game.
he played everything. Yeah, it's a big game historically because of Istanbul and because of 2008 where they played each other twice in the Champions League. But AC Milan are okay.
They're
They're
a team
not.
that you should beat at Anfield. I get that.
Yes, well, but it's based, but like I just said, Liverpool beat anyone at Anfield. Everyone, anything,
Yeah.
especially at their highest
So
level.
you've got, I mean, but you're traveling to Porto for your next match. You do have City on the horizon. You're traveling to Madrid, and then Madrid, and then United back to back, which is interesting. But anyway, I digress. The point I'm making is that like you don't have a midweek game this upcoming week. You have the EFL Cup third round. You're not gonna against Norwich. You're not gonna play Van Dijk or any of your stars really against Norwich for that game. So that's the interesting piece for me that Van Dijk didn't start, but that's something to keep an eye on, I think, as the season kind of progresses, and more importantly, as we get into realistically 2 game a week season, which is started this week and goes till at least February. Realistically,
well, it won't be as bad as last time, but it will be interesting. So I do want to cover some of the other games. Not that we're going to go through it. There are some highlight games. The Sevilla Salzburg game was insane. There were 4 penalties in that game with a man sent off. Ended 1-1. Bananas. FC Sheriff, a Russian oligarch team out of Trabzonspor, beats other Russian oligarch, Ukrainian oligarch Shakhtar Donetsk. I don't know what's going on.
They had a goal scored by Adama Traore, assisted by Cristiano. That's all I have for that game.
Borussia scores. Jude Bellingham is looking like a real player. Might be the next great midfielder. Haaland, of course, scored, and Bellingham assisted on Haaland's goal. Haaland is a fucking beast. I really hope that he comes to City. I don't think it'll happen. It's starting to feel like he's not going to come. Ajax put 5 on Sporting, and I think Sebastian Haller, formerly of West Ham, scored all 5. He got a 10 out of 10 and was Champions League Player of the Week. And then the relegated, I'm calling them relegated, Barcelona are toyed with by Bayern Munich. Like, it was sad.
Yeah.
There was 20 minutes of Bayern just kind of passing the ball around and Barca unable to do anything. Barca may not make it out of the group. It's really sad. They are Villarreal in disguise at this point. They're not good. They're not going to be good. They're going to fire their coach if they finish in the top half of the league. If they finish out of the top 4, I would not be surprised in Spain. That's not a good team.
No.
And they're losing players left and right. And I don't think they have the right coach. And, they really are. They got relegated from the Super League, basically.
I don't even know that the coach is that high on the list of their problems.
They don't care. No, they don't. No, that's not what I mean.
Like,
they're $1.3 billion in debt. That's the problem.
Right. They're not going to fire him if he's got a settlement. That's for sure.
And the thing that's even sadder is, like, they could have got out of it by selling Messi, right? Instead of just letting him go, they could have got $250 million from City had they done it a year earlier. But they were like, I guess the books are fine. We'll just keep him. What are they doing? Like, it's like the most egregious failure in the history. I'm like, is anyone accounting? Like, do you have QuickBooks? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, like even I know how much money I have, sort of, but like they don't know what they know. Like, oh, I thought we could sign. What do you mean you thought you could sign him? Like, isn't there an accounting team? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, incredible stuff. But I think the more incredible stuff is our friend Joe from Attitude of Gratitude, who's going to help Mike hang in there with his wedding as he pays for it, looks at the credit card bills and goes, good fucking Christ. Did I really have to invite my third cousin who I met once when I was 5?
There's a table and a half of people I have met a total of 5 times in the entire table.
Yeah. Those people are there, and Mike's and Joe from Attitude of Gratitude is going to help Mike find the funding to hang in there and cover that off. While I, on the other hand, I'm already starting to try and buy a house in California. My wife's talking about it. We were like, 20% down. Yeah, I think we're going to need, $200,000 for 20% down to find a house that's normal. This isn't going to happen. So we're going to talk to Joe a lot about that. And hopefully he can help us find, maybe $50K over like the next 5 years. I think that's possible.
Right.
I might need to take this 2 hours a week for this podcast and actually work on Uber. Might help, but until then, we're gonna keep pubbing Joe from Attitude of Gratitude Consulting. We love him, we need him, and we're really happy that he's part of our show, and we're really happy that the Premier League is also back on Sunday.
But no, I'm not going to let you segue into the Premier League just yet. I want to talk for about 6 hours about you as a potential Uber driver and the rating. Not like, I'm not even talking about the star rating. I want to know the reviews. Like, Laurent was very, very personable. Told me his opinions on post World War II Germany quite a bit. Had free mints, 4 stars. Like,
got into a weird car. We talked about the War of 1812 and the Battle of Montreal. It was weird. 4 stars.
Where are you from, huh? Oh, my cousin's from Serbia. You want to know what the fuck is going on over there?
Hi, you got any friends who are Albanian? I bet you don't.
Coming next week.
Can we talk about Mr. Princip and his luck that the Archduke Ferdinand's car broke down and he made a wrong turn and pulled up in front of him and he shot him anyway?
Oh my God. Taxi Cab Confessions with Laurent Cortines next week. It's going to be a new podcast on the Chop Sports Network.
It's pretty good, but Joe's going to help us. That was a good little segue for the rest of the show. The Premier League returns on Friday, tomorrow. We've got a actual kind of old school barn burner that I want to call out because Leeds Newcastle at St. James's should be pretty fired up. If this was 1953 and there were still people mining coal in the north and building ships, it might be a more interesting game. But I think Leeds needs this more than Newcastle. Newcastle I had going down, and they are in the bottom 3. But I do like the idea of Alan Saint-Maximin running at the insane Leeds defense and just being like, "Oh fuck, here goes Saint-Maximin," as he's running through the entirety of the Leeds defense and then shoots it into fucking the stratosphere because he can't shoot. But he's I've called Saint-Maximin. This is my last love for him. He's a mix between Wilfred Zaha and Mario Balotelli. He's baby Zaha Balotelli is kind of my feel about him. He's not really a winger. He kind of is in the middle. Does crazy stuff. I kind of want him in MLS because he would just like run through the whole league.
Oh my God. He would score by accident in MLS.
Anyway, so Leeds need to win. They've only got the 2 draws. And that's Friday, so we can watch some football in the afternoon at work.
It's a nice little cruise into the weekend for on the East Coast at least. You get the 3:00 start, and you're like, get your shit together, and then get the hell out of here. It's not
a fantastic group of name games, but we get a test for Crystal Palace. See if Gallagher can handle my friend Gallagher can handle Anfield and doesn't lose his mind. I think if there's a bet for a red card for Gallagher, it's going to happen in that game.
Ooh, that's fired
up. Yeah. He might kick Fabinho in the dick. That would be exciting. I think we're hopefully, Norwich had the worst run to kick off the season of any team in the league. They played Liverpool, City, and Leicester, and people were wondering why they didn't. And Arsenal. People were wondering why. Are you guys going to get relegated again? And we're going to find out about them as they get a chance to play Watford. So that's good. And then we've got Burnley versus Arsenal. Burnley are bad. I'm not giving them any Fortress Turf more. They're shit. Arsenal always beat them there. And down the road, I'm starting to pick back up on Arsenal after the 32 shot attack.
You waffle. You waffle on Arsenal. It's weird because I don't have them.
I want to like them. I want them to be good. I just want everyone to be happy. You know?
No, you don't.
And then
you spent a month saying how much you enjoyed the Schadenfreude of Arsenal losing. You don't want everybody to be happy. You don't want that at all.
I didn't really pick up on any Arsenal Fan TV. I think the YouTube algorithm is taking me away from them. I don't know what's going on there. Villa Everton. This is a sort of togetherness game. I've got some thoughts on that. You got some thoughts on West Ham Man U. Then, of course, my beloved Brighton versus Leicester in a battle of teams wearing blue. I wonder. I guess Leicester will wear the weird color, pink, whatever they wear.
Yeah.
Or Brighton will wear their yellows. And then we finished the weekend with a big, massive, not in the face game of
Spurs and Chelsea. So we'll talk. We'd already talked a little bit about that. We'll get into it a little bit more. But I think Sunday has the 3 most not important, but interesting games. Sure. And that's because Leicester and West Ham are in Europa League on Thursdays. And that is super important, right? Because especially for a team like Leicester, this is a huge test. Let's start with them.
They drew in their game today.
But they have not looked good.
But it was name brand. It was Napoli. So
that was arguably one of the better matchups in Europa League until at least the round of 16 and sometime in March or something. But I think that this is a huge game for Leicester. They have not looked good. I know that they're 2-2, so there's no panic mode yet. And they did have one of those losses against Manchester City. They just have not inspired confidence. And I think it all comes down to that 4-1 loss to West Ham, where they kind of just looked like shit. They got away with 1 or 2 of their wins. They got their doors blown off by West Ham, and really City never let them in the game. So we're still sort of hoping and expecting more from them. And this is a game coming off of a Thursday that they're really a little weak in the knees, I think. Brighton really could take all 3 points here. But I think that Harvey Barnes has been absent. But I think the bigger problem is that James Maddison,
thank God,
he did score a goal today, but James Maddison has just sort of, he's supposed to be the glue. He's supposed to be that lock picker, if you will. And he's just, he's not. And if you look at last season, you said this before we started recording, I'm going to take credit for it. Kelechi Iheanacho went on fire at the end of last season.
Joke, is that the
there you go. Yeah, the 9.5 joke is returns. But he went crazy and he hasn't been playing. And so it'll be interesting again, now that you see these teams. If we talk about how Liverpool doesn't have depth, they don't have depth relative to Chelsea and City, right? United, that level of depth. But when we talk about the teams like West Ham and Leicester, they don't have depth. They don't really have depth to be competing on two fronts.
No, and then they don't like for instance, Liverpool has good young players that can bring in. They bring in Harvey Elliott and they bring in Jones to play. Like they have good players, or like they have vets that are okay in their role. Like they bring in Milner, he's a pro. As much as people want to hammer Origi, he at least is a striker who will come off the bench and play. Right, he's a real legit
Origi
player.
Would be in the team, not necessarily a locked in starter, but he'd be in the team.
Would kill for Origi right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, please give me Origi any day of the week. Please.
So, but what may be interesting, I think Iheanacho came in as a substitute today. So he had some time, but not a lot. It actually might shake him loose for the barrage, right? He might actually come in and feature on Sunday, and that may kind of shake some things loose for Leicester. I like Brighton on paper, but I could see, especially if Iheanacho starts, I could see a spark for Leicester there. So that was a tough one to call. I know you've got a take on it in your best bets segment. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to pivot again to another team. Like I mentioned, West Ham on a Thursday. We talked about how United blew it. I think they're going to come out with their hair on fire. They're going to be at the London Stadium. I understand. But
Cristiano's not going to let them lose.
No,
or he's going to try.
West Ham is going to come out. They had to really push today. They won 2-0, a strong win. Don't get me wrong.
That's a good team, Zagreb. By the way,
yeah, that's a trip.
It's not a joke.
That's a hell of a fucking trip, right?
Yeah, it's not particularly close, but it's not particularly far. But they made some changes. So Vlasic played, Lanzini played, Zuma and Diop played. So there was some betting in. No Kufal, Fredericks played. So they mixed and matched, right? Yarmolenko got some burn. Mark Noble, Bowen came in late. Masuaku came in. So they did play a different group. So you'd expect some rotation. But yeah, he's trying to keep some freshness in the team. But it'll be hard. Again, like you said, they're not quite as deep as the other. But the thing that I really like about West Ham is like, they've got a way to play. Like, what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, who's going to do what the patterns are. And when you go and you think and you compare them to United, I don't know how United are going to play. They kind of show up how they show up. This is actually, if West Ham has their energy that you expect them to have, this is the type of team that United lose to. Because it's not a big name game. It's at the London Stadium, which is not it doesn't have juice, right? It's kind of a game that you're like, we'll go to West Ham, it'll be fine, we won't lose. But West Ham will challenge them because they're strong in the midfield and they sit deep and will hit them on the break hard. And so I could see a draw, I could see a loss for Man United and the knives being out. No, or they could win. It could happen. I mean,
or they could win by 3.
No, but United's good. I get it, and West Ham can be hit or miss.
I think one thing we're not talking about, it's a rarity that a Champions League team will play on a Tuesday and not have to play until Sunday, and I think that's important. They basically were
get a full week.
They get more or less a full week. They were at free reign to play whoever they wanted. They obviously took a lot of the starters off, as we talked about from the red card. They're going to be foaming at the mouth. Nobody has been talking about anything other than Manchester United blew it against Young Boys. That was unintentional.
You are a man.
Yeah. But they blew the game they should have won. This is their next chance to get back at it and get people to stop talking about that. I think they're going to be off to the races. And like you said, they have another gear now with Cristiano Ronaldo in the lineup. And we'll talk about that in our best bet segment as well. So, all right, fine.
Tottenham,
and then
Chelsea.
to end the week. I do think. Listen, I don't feel good coming off of last week. I don't feel any better or worse. Coming off of the Rennes draw. But I do think it comes down to Sonny, and I think it comes down to if Lo Celso and Romero are allowed to play. They are going to be cleared. They've been in Croatia, I believe, training. because it was a green country that's close enough or something like that. I don't remember exactly where they are, but they're somewhere. So Davinson Sanchez, who's looked great early in the season, Christian Romero, who's sort of still waiting for his chance to get in, which would have happened at Crystal Palace had he been there with Dyer getting hurt, and Gio Lo Celso. Ideally, you've got a midfield three of Tanguy and Ndombele, Højbjerg and Lo Celso, I think. Maybe not, or Dele, if he's in that role, maybe not. But if Dele has to play up front because Bergwijn had to come off after 30 minutes again today and Son isn't available, I'm okay with that three and Dele in the top because his clinical talent, right? It's all attacking. So to try and make him into a box-to-box midfielder, it might be square peg round hole. But if you can get players like Ndombele, like Lo Celso, who can kind of be the bridge to that top three, then I think you're talking about something completely different. But
you need Kane dropping deep, and
he has been. He has been. And no, that's a given.
That's the way they score, right? It's the creativity of Kane being the 10 and the 9, right? I think the concern is Chelsea don't give up shit, nothing, and your team's not creating anything.
I'm going to tempt fate right now.
That's the big issue, right? It's that XG against, they're not giving up anything. So here are the last 5 games XG against 0.8. Against Villa, they lost 1.5. Against Liverpool, 0.8. 0.3 against Arsenal, 0.3 against Palace. They just don't give up shit.
They do have a weak spot, though, and you alluded to it, and it will be Lucas running down the right side on drunk drive and Marcus Alonso, who, by the way, loves a goal against Tottenham. I fucking hate that guy.
But I mean, they will protect him, right? You'll have Azpilicueta behind him. You'll have the 3 behind them, and the work rate of the midfield getting over him. I think the weak spot always is the protection that they give to Jorginho. He's the one that Ndombele needs to dominate him. Like run past him, throw an elbow, knock him over, make Conte come, and then move the ball to whoever's free in space. But it's easier said than done because Rudiger in a 3 is free to come fucking smash into you. So they're just really good. They're well drilled. I don't expect Chelsea to lose this game.
No, I don't either.
They're just really good. I mean, I feel bad. I didn't talk about my team that's on a run right now. City playing Southampton. Southampton are just not good enough. They haven't
sort of a nothing burger game.
Yeah, it's I think it's at home, so City should just have no problem. But
they're favored by 2.5.
City are favored by 2.5 in every game, right? It's not.
But all right. Well, that's our segue. Let's talk about what do you got for us this week?
Okay.
Our best bet.
So segment. I did a little research, and instead of doing my little one bet each and kind of figuring this out, I saw that there was some data on XG versus some XG against growth versus what the lines are, and sort of some math about, hey, Villas are undervalued in their bets and Arsenal's undervalued in their bets, and Arsenal versus Burnley is actually not close. Like Arsenal have not lost at Turf Moor since 1973. So a lot of good stuff there. Brighton are undervalued along with Brentford. So I took it and parlayed Villa, Arsenal, and Brighton into one bet.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? At plus 1250, at what is it? 1220. Plus 1220. They were all positive bets for the money line. I really like all these teams. These would be teams that I would like to bet on anyway. And then I thought Brentford at 390 is like the best fucking underdog I can find. And money could buy.
That one was tempting.
Against Wolves, even though Wolves has been a darling of the XG world, Brentford don't give up shit. As much as you learned about this last week, you tried to bet the over, and they didn't give up anything. Even though they did lose in the end 1-0 to my beloved Brighton. They really didn't give up much, and that was like a really kind of crap tight game until Brentford broke down. And had Mbuemo covered anything, Brentford likely would have won that game.
Well, so I think, and a word on the over the bet that I had, Mbuemo fucked me, and he is on the waiver wire in our fantasy league because if he doesn't sky those chances, the whole game opens up.
But he needs to have one, right? He just needs to cover one. And then maybe they might have been able to shut that game down, right?
Well, it wasn't even that. Like, if you get one out of Brighton need to come out of their shell, right? Like, Brentford was comfortably the better team. And what happened was you weren't able to get ahead and force Brighton to force the issue back. And then you basically just continued to press and press and press, and you broke down at the end. So, it was a good win by Brighton, but as from a betting perspective, super frustrating.
And the nice thing is there's a lot of connections here. So the manager at Villa, whose name is escaping me, Dean Smith, I can't remember his name.
Yep.
Used to be the manager at Brentford. Brentford and Brighton are both owned by gamblers who kind of understand this value of 3 points versus 1 and will play to win. There's none of this we play for the draw shit. They hate it. They'll always go for the win, right? So with Brighton, and even though Brighton got a lot of draws last year, it's because they were ahead and would give them up.
It's because that was right? Not by design.
Lost so many games from winning positions. It's because they would go and try and get goals and couldn't hang on to them. Villa, I think, had a tough go. They've played the best versus Chelsea in anybody in the country so far. And, they lost. That was the best 3-0 loss I've ever seen. So hopefully with Buendia back and Emi Martinez back, they can pull off a game against Everton. Everton are playing well, but I don't think Rafa Benitez has won 4 games in a row since like 1380. So I'm not interested in that win. And then Brentford was just the number was too big. I had to take it.
So, all right, I've got, we talked a little bit about United and West Ham. I'm a big believer, like I said, in the Ronaldo factor. I think that, they're going to come out guns blazing. They will probably concede at some point in this game, but I still think they cover 1. I got even odds on them. That's fine with me. And then a bit of a sucker bet, Crystal Palace going into Anfield. I feel like this is a letdown game for Liverpool, coming off the dramatic win against AC Milan. A little shaky in their depth, obviously the Elliott injury and a couple other things. And Palace, listen, I got a really up close and personal look at them. They're not afraid. And I think that's the coolest.
They're definitely not afraid.
That's the cool thing about that.
Is it Zaha versus Trent Alexander? Or do they put Robertson on that side? Oh, then you're going to do fine.
Right. And so all you've got is that I've got Crystal Palace at Anfield +2. I'm not saying that they're going to win the game. I'm saying if they lose by less than 3, I win, or I at least don't lose, essentially. So even odds on that.
There's not enough information. I think that's a good bet but you're not getting anything extra. It's even. That sucks.
That's fine with me. So
how does that work for the uninitiated? If you put down 100, you just get.
If I put $100 down, I win $100. If Palace loses by 1 or any other result, essentially. If Palace loses by 2, I get my money back. If Palace loses by 3, I owe the house $100, or I lose $100. I should say. And so I feel pretty good about that. And then looking. We'll see how I do in college football Saturday, because last week I got kind of banged up. But if Son Heung-min plays and Spurs are a plus 360 favorite, I'm going to put something on them. Just because.
I think the one question I have is, I know Antonio got sent off. Does he miss this game?
Yes. Oh, he should. It was 2 yellows.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you get 2 yellows. Like usually a straight red's 3.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it was 2 yellows. I'm going back to look at last week.
So if Antonio's not playing, that makes your bet.
And he just played 90 minutes yesterday. So
then that means that he's not.
Why do you hate me?
That's okay.
Yeah. Well,
should be good there.
Interesting little wrinkle there. But yeah, I mean, listen. -1. It's actually minus. So for the uninitiated, the bet is actually -105, not even, but it is -0.5, -1. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, it means half the bet is -0.5 and half the bet is -1. So if Man United win by 1 goal, that means on a $100 bet, I win on 50 and I draw on 50. So a $100 bet returns 150 instead of 200, essentially. Right? Get how that makes sense now?
No, but I'm enjoying.
You're splitting. It's basically thinking of it like blackjack. You're splitting.
It's a safety bet. I get it.
Not even. No, it's just these are the odds you're getting. Like you're splitting tens essentially.
Listen, if I win both my bets, I pull to 4 and 7. I'm really just hoping. I'm hoping for Brentford. I think
we're calling these best bets, but if you're not fading at this point, this is your own fault.
It's my best bets. It's my first bets. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. So yeah, and if you want, just check out BetUSA. Use the link in the description. That's where, and on our website, give a click there, give it a look. It's a offshore site. Seems pretty legit. It's got Warren Sapp on it. It must be good. So, but I'm using the money there, and it's $100, and if you lose it, you lose it. But it's some offshore site that's been around a long time. So don't sweat it and just enjoy. It makes the games a little bit more fun. So
yeah.
All right, Mike.
Let's get out of here.
All right. That was the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple or any other platform, please rate and review the show because it makes a huge difference. And I respect to the Battle of Guadalcanal. I think that one's big for me. I'm going to have to give that one a shout out somewhere.
Pray for me. I have to drive to New York and watch Chelsea kick the shit out of my team.
Enjoy.
#